Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about the Battle of Fredericksburg. You might have heard about this battle, but you most likely don't know very much about it. So I'm going to be talking to you and showing you what the battle was, who won, where it took place, and what happened during the battle. So it's in 1863. This is before Gettysburg. So the Union are desperately looking for a victory. They have lost battle after battle to the Confederacy, and they are desperately looking for a victory. Abraham Lincoln has just fired McClellan, and he has gotten a new general named Burnside. So on the western front near the coast, which is where this map is showing, the Union, what the Union were trying to do was they were trying to capture Richmond because that was the capital of the Confederacy. So if they could take Richmond, they could drain the Confederacy of food, supplies, and other things. So Burnside sets out to Richmond to try and capture it um, with an army of 120,000. But he doesn't know this, but Lee spots him early and sets up at at Fredericksburg. So Burnside, to go faster instead of marching, he comes down the river. Forget what the river name is. He comes down the river and he goes to go to Richmond, and he runs into Lee's forces. So this is what the battle scene looked like. This is Burnside's fleet over here. Lee's forces set up in Fredericksburg, and he has them on the heights too. Here's the key, just so you want to know. Here's the river. It's Rappahannock. I have no idea how to pronounce it. It's very weird pronounce. This is the city of Fredericksburg, right on the the west of it, of the city. And this is Lee's forces over here. Red is Lee's forces. Burnside is blue. Blue is Burnside forces. Before we go into the battle, we are going to look at the strength. So this is the Confederates. This is the Union. The Confederates had about 80,000 soldiers. Remember, these were not trained soldiers. These were everyday live farmers just trying to and working class, just trying to keep their slaves and fight for freedom. The Union were much more trained, and they had better soldiers, more guns, guns meaning cannons and mortars. But disaster strikes for the Union later on in the battle. Confederate strength 80,000 soldiers, 200 guns slash cannons slash mortars, and at the end of the battle, they had 5,000 casualties. Casualties means either injured or killed. Union strength 120,000 soldiers, 320 guns slash cannons slash mortars, 13,000 casualties at the end of the battle. Now that you know the facts, we can get into the battle. So Burnside moves down the river and he docks, and he has a huge force of troops. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to cross this river. They are just trying to get across, but because of poor management, it takes them a very long time to get across. But finally, once they do build the bridge, they go across, and fighting ensues in the streets. After a quick skirmish, Burnside forces are victorious in the city, and they capture the city. Well, not the city, but the town. It's more like a town. And Lee's forces retreat that were in the city. But Lee does have the high ground. So all the Union forces are coming across the river like this. And what the strategy of the Union was to penetrate their forces, a two-pronged assault. So they were penetrating their forces on the south and the north. So what they were trying to do, they were trying to attack this side, and then cut around the middle just like that. But they did not know how much of the high ground Lee had. And so when Burnside sent his waves, they just got demolished. Muskets firing at them from all angles, they just got demolished. And the first wave was a terrible, it was disaster. They lost so many men, and it was terrible. So many Union died. It was really sad. Um, but Burnside did not want to lose the battle yet, so he sent in the next wave, and sent back the first wave, the remaining soldiers, to replenish. Then he sent in the second wave. Same thing happened. Then he let them replenish. Then he sent in the third wave. Same thing happened. Dead, dead, dead. Muskets, 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 cannons, cannons, cannons. They were all dying. It was actually really bad, and sad for the Union that they were just getting demolished. Then they sent another one in, and Burnside was being super cruel. He knew he was losing the battle, but he did not want to go back to Lincoln saying that he lost another decisive battle. And it actually only made it worse because they lost more men, lost more cannons, lost more troops. It only made it worse. And this was really hurting the the Union war effort. Remember, the Union were losing this war by a lot so far. It's 1863, and they have not won a single decisive victory. This was before Gettysburg, so the tables are still shifted on the side of Lee, General Lee, in the Confederacy. So they need a victory. The Union need a victory. They really need a decisive victory, but in turn, they lose. And they just keep sending more waves. I don't know the amount of waves, but it was just crazy. And so many men died. At the end of the battle, 13,000 casualties. And the insane thing is that even the Confederates, people who wanted slaves, there's a story about one guy who jumped over one of the defenses, and he gave water to the injured Union soldiers. It's crazy that somebody that owns slaves and is fighting for freedom is going to do that for a Union soldier. So in the end, it was a total failure. Burnside ran back to Washington, D.C. with what was left of his army, had to report to Lincoln that he had lost a decisive battle, and that was very bad for the Union. This was the lowest point for the Union. This was the last major battle since the Gettysburg. So this was right before Gettysburg. There was no major battle after that until Gettysburg. So this was the low point for the Union. The popularity of the war was at an all-time low. People wanted the war to end in the North, and people wanted Abraham Lincoln out since he was not winning. So that sums up the battle for you. It was a decisive Confederate victory and one that they could celebrate from. But they later lost, obviously, at the Battle of Gettysburg, which turned the tides, and eventually the Union won the war, obviously, but at a great cost. And Fredericksburg was just a total disaster. So I thank you for watching. I hope you learned something new, and bye.